clues to the public because it was just something they wanted to do. They was trying to get money because there wasn't no money in it when they started it.
Mm-hmm.
And they still ain't paying the artists. That's the sharecropper agreement reenactment. So we'll know how our ancestors lost the land through sharecropper agreements through a crooked government. And they got meticulous records on it. They told us what they did. It's not no secret. They caught our elders up in sharecropper agreements, and then they destroyed product. So now they can't grow nothing this season. They got to double up on the loan next year, and on the third year they seize it for non-payment. They've been doing that since they've been here, burning up the farms, burning up the record halls, trying to conceal the dirt. But you got people in the families that's always been record keepers. So they can go back 200 years in their direct family back to their land. Ain't none of this a secret to us, but because of the Conjure war we in, and we don't understand the nature of it, is ignorance. Right? Bobby Hemming tell us, Bobby Hemming said, look, out of all of the melanated people of the world, there's something special about the ones from this land. Right? We the ones who are the creative men that love the women so passionately that we generate masculine forms of art.
Explain that. What do you mean? What do you mean?
The masculine forms of art is the martial arts. Okay. And then they get this spiritual energy that's extracted from that. Right? But the men do it in order to have a positive outlet for the rage of the masculine. If you can control the outlet, you can control the self. All that stuff is scripted. All them professional sports is scripted. But you know when it ain't? When you play in Little League. It's not scripted. Because you're trying to learn the game. And what else they teach you in the same age as Little League? Board games. These is giving you the rules to how to play the game called life, which takes you to a plutarchy, right? Which is a total domination of all in existence, right? That's the final conclusion of the game of the gods, right? So they tell you all of these examples to go by, but they don't never tell you what they mean, right? Then they get you caught up in moralism, right? That don't got nothing to do with us. We want to be good because it's the nature of those who come into the physical body. But those who wish to experience pain sometimes go bad because the pain drives them in the wrong direction. That's called taking the left-hand path. But how far are you going to go down the wrong path before you realize this ain't for me? Some people get in too deep. Right. So this is the parameters of this Conjure war.
You know, Rod, you mentioned the sister Erin Lyons earlier, and we was talking about Lemuria. I'm interested in knowing. I've talked extensively with you in the past about Atlantis, but I don't think we've mentioned Lemuria and Mu. I believe that's the same thing. What's your thoughts on Lemuria and its connection to America? We've talked about Atlantis, but I believe Blavatsky said Lemuria was the third root race. Atlantis was the fourth. So Lemuria came before Atlantis. We talk about Atlantis, but people don't talk about Lemuria as much as they give Atlantis love. So what's your thoughts on Lemuria?
Well, they shifting away from Atlantis now and going to Tartaria. Right? Mu is a city. Atlantis is an empire. Mu is one of the first concentric cities that the matriarchs made, right? And when they decided to scale the project up, it evolved into what became Atlantis.
Where was
Atlantis? Is the city of Mu? It was on the island. The island is Saint, right? But When they tell you Atlantis, the capital of Atlantis flew away. It didn't sink. Right? When they telling you it sunk, it went the other direction. When they tell you that the Noah's Ark floated on the water, that's not what the books say. But nobody don't pay it no attention. They just go right over it. They say that Noah's craft was taken up into the sky. Right? And most people is not going to ever see that. But it's not going to make sense unless you realize, how can New Jerusalem be coming back if it ain't never been here? Right? Which is also a hijacked terminology to mislead us from what they're talking about. When they call Jerusalem the city of peace, we talking about the capital city of Atlantis, which was a jumper. It was called a jumper ship. Right? We didn't been through so many, everything you can think of has been true at some time or another on Earth. You can't think of nothing that never happened. It all happened. And it probably didn't happen exactly like people tell it, but the general outline of the story is still consistent with the historical record of the planet, because we went through this cycles and cycles on top of cycles. This is nothing new. Right? So we go through the cycles, and then when the cycle gets so bad, somebody got to clean it up. It got to be cleaned up at the close of every age.
Why did this capital move? Why did it sink?
It just the shifting of the land masses. But Atlantis flew away because of war. The capital of Atlantis flew away because of war. Mu sucked because over time it wasn't functional, because it was already at sea level. So when the sea level shifted, it just consumed it. You know it today as Bimini Road. Is the pathway to where Mu used to be. It's called the Bimini Road. But it had, every time we did this, we had satellite cities. That's why you see pyramids all over the world. But the pyramids started in the Americas. It's a purpose form that we're not going to get into, other than what people think. But when they start reactivating, it starts to make sense because it pulls the hologram down. This is what don't nobody want. It's called lifting the veil. The veil between worlds is the realization that this shit is a game. We probably on the moon playing it here. You understand epigenetics, then you understand why Elijah Muhammad called us radioheads. We being projected into these bodies from somewhere else.
Right.
It's hard to tell where you being projected from while you in the body. But as soon as you get outside the body, you're like, God damn, man, I messed up again on the video game.
Yeah.
I was almost to the champions. I was almost to the championship level.
Just like that, huh?
I was finna save the princess from the dragon in Mario.
Wow, like that, huh? Wow.
Yeah, it's but now you got to remember, if you're an eternal being, Malachi said this in Man from Planet Risk, you have to do something to occupy yourself for eternity. If you go to India, they have historical records with whole cycles cataloged, thousands and thousands of different, what they call great year cycles, right? The record is always here, but sometimes we scatter the record out for a cannonball run. You know what cannonball run is?
Yeah.
That movie?
Yeah.
Scavenger hunt. Hansel and Gretel pick up the breadcrumbs, the water washed them away, but the energy's still there. Right? So you put down a different type of breadcrumb that don't dissolve in the rain. Right? It's an energy field. Ain't none of this stuff new to us. We did this before. Being did in so many different ways that now we acting like we haven't done it before because the particular types of conjures being used to strip the memory. Right? Like you want to play that Dr. Clark video so I can show some of what I'm talking about?
Yeah, let me give me 1 second, y'all.
So Dr. Clark was a good friend to so even if we don't like them, they have to educate themselves out of the amnesia in order to know how to close the conjure. They couldn't win because they couldn't remember how to close the conjure. So it was inevitable that they would lose because they now have to call on the same person the tribe's got to call on.
Who's them? Who are you
to come and explain okay, so it's feathers versus fezzes. The Moors who went into amnesia, all of their fezzes is in the George Washington Memorial. It's a fez, it's a little section of fezzes, right? And then all of the chiefs, the feather wearing chiefs of the land. We didn't walk around wearing feathers every day. That's ceremonial garb for ceremonial purposes, right? So they want to conceal the fact that the chiefs was already here fighting this war in the blind, just like they was. So now they have to put the information out in the public and reach out for the same person the chiefs got to reach out for. That's what was going on. It's a conjure war. It's a war of education. It's a war of erudition. Study yourself to show thyself approved. This is what it's all about. The making of a man, the great arcana, the great work, the building of solid man, the soul of man in order to inhabit the temple. This is what it's all about.
And so
all of the secret societies involved.
Who put the fezzes under the conjure now?
They did.
They put themselves under the conjure.
Yeah, we had both sides got to have amnesia.
Okay.
But in our amnesia, we got to outstudy each other to win. If you get caught in the dogma, you can't win the war.
Right.
If you follow if you follow your moral compass, follow what's true to your heart, you can't lose the war. Right? So wake up one. Right? So I'm the one that they woke up to wake the rest of us up. This is the wake up call.
So what gods?
So all of these secret societies in it. What was the question, Rich?
In terms of the fifth dimension, this chess game that's being played in the fifth dimension, what gods are working in the favor of the fezzes and what gods are working in the favor of the feathers?
Okay, while we was in amnesia, none of them.
None of them?
No, we was left to our own devices to show ourselves worthy to let them relax. We had to prove it. You say you can go in there while everybody got amnesia, remember who you is, and then tell the rest of them who they is. Right? We know who came over here. It's not a secret. Ain't none of it secret. That's the whole secret. It's in the public, but it's in your face behind your back. They play it in the movies. They write it in the novels, put it in magazines, tell it to you in the music. Everybody tell you just a little piece though, because everybody can't see the collective. When you see from okay, what is the purpose of everything you looking at? Everything got a purpose. Ain't nothing haphazard. Everything from your cell phone to the tree outside was meticulously crafted by somebody, somewhere at some point. The flora and fauna of the planet is drawn from the catalog called the Voynich manuscript, and that's why they can't translate it, because the language ain't Earth. right? But it's just like a Sears catalog to populate the earth with new flora and fauna to create a paradise. Right? So when you're looking at all of these ancient texts, you realize that all of this stuff is constructs of the mind that we go through in cycles of trying different things in order to not be bored for all eternity.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you, Rod, in the movies, that shit is like a curse, being an eternal being. That shit is miserable. I think the vampires or whoever these people are in the movies, they be wanting to die, Rod. They be like, oh, I'm still here. So, I mean,
death is an illusion. They know death is an illusion, though. Anybody that's death is an illusion is only real in the game. When you're not in physical form, death ain't real.
No, I get that. But do you think that living for eternity is probably one of the things that Source or Big Mama or whoever this entity is one of the things that makes it most saddest? The fact that it lives for eternity? Like, that's forever. What the fuck are you going to do forever?
Yeah. So what you're going to do forever is come up with new cycles, with new ideas, and then strip them all back down and start all over. It's just like a kid with a block of Lego set. He's going to take his Legos and he's going to build something, show it off for a little while, then he's going to tear it down and he's going to build something else. That's what we're doing. Tear it down and rebuild it. Tear it down and rebuild it. All of these fear-mongering tactics they're using is funny to me because it's like a parody. It's like a tragic drama comedy. Right? And they doing it to slow down the perception of the ones in the game to make time drag out. Right? Time is only defined by event to event in the mind. That's why we need clocks. You try to put everything on a schedule. That's military regimentation. Right? It goes back to the Oscars. Who was Oscar? Right? And why was it so hard for us to get an Oscar? If Oscar looked like us, why was it so hard for us to get one of his trophies? Because it had nothing to do with us. It had something to do with those who needed to develop the cultures and the arts. That's why we didn't get no Grammys. That had nothing to do with us. We was juking in the juke joints. We didn't need no fucking awards. You monitoring something. What is you monitoring? You monitoring the assimilation of the one blood. One of those other videos I sent you of Dr. Clark talk about the one blood doctrine, right? To get you past the divide and conquer mechanism of racism, we don't want to let that go because we want to be trauma bonded to somebody with just as much trauma as us that don't look like us. See, we don't remember, like, the worst of the races is the poor white trash. They the ones that hate us the most. You know why? Because they the ones down here with us at the bottom. Right? And they told them we the reason they at the bottom. Of course they gonna be pissed off at us. They fell for it just like we fell for that KKK black hand under the KKK. We grand deception. David Copperfield made the airplane disappear, but we know it was just an illusion. No, it wasn't real, but he made it look real. How does it look legitimate? Regimented roads.
Rod, you breaking up bad,
regimented living quarters. I don't know Rod, what that is.
Can you go out and come back in?
Well,
fine now. You good to go?
Okay, so So here he is, just a little nappy head, raisin head boy out of Michigan, gonna grow up and tell everybody what he see. You don't gotta believe me, but I'm gonna show you some receipts. When you get the receipts, don't argue with me, deal with the receipt. We have a record of us before Columbus came. You got to remember, this is a 500-plus-year-old war. Started in 1492 with the arrival of Christopher Columbus and his brother and his son. Navigated by Pietro del Negro, and they came in on 3 ships. Right? That's a conjure in and of itself. The only way to overthrow the conjure of the 3 ships is to put 3 kings walking on the land. That's the counter on the chessboard. So the 3 kings walking on the land, all 3 of them got to have the blood and the right. So I got to find them. They got to talk to me telepathically. I got to figure out what they saying. And when we get to this part, this is when we start what we call wind talking. It's a certain level of development as a priest where they call you a prophet, but you're not really a prophet. You hear shit. You're hearing the voice of elders. That's not in the physical. That's the realm of the ancestors guiding you in the physical to make sure you get the job done like they told you. Right? All this is sorcery. It's all sorcery.
So you saying you got to find the 3 kings of the land now? That's what you saying?
I already did it.
Have you communicated with them telepathically or like over the phone, or like have you talked to them?
They know what's going on. Look, the reversal, this is how Cuba won the revolution. They used the reversal conjure with Camilo Cienfuegos, Fidel Castro, and Che Guevara. Camilo is the one they didn't want us to know about because we would have put the conjure together to counter just like Cuba did, and then we would have been able to throw the oppressor that was on us. It's the same conjure. It's the same counter moves. It's just a microcosm of the bigger game, and the game is for Earth.